Cannibal Corpse, that feels like a Saturday morning cartoon to me.
It might as well be at this point. And
this is like very real and disturbing.
This is an Ari Aster movie. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's actually worse than that. This era Swans is a musical version of a snuff film. Welcome to Every Album Ever with Mike and Alex. My name is Michael Mansour, and I'm joined, as always, by my currently enjoying the hell out of summer co-host, Alexander Volt. Say hello.
Hello.
This is Every Album Ever, the podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, one artist at a time, but in reality, just the artist that we like, really. It's a new discography for the most part, every episode. But we do have a big announcement regarding that coming pretty soon.
Yes.
But today, we will be discussing every album in a way by...
Swans. Also, let's not undersell ourselves here. This is basically 3 years.
It is 3 years. This is basically our 3-year anniversary episode.
Yes.
In some way or another.
We don't put them in the title, but we're celebrating.
And we have a lot to discuss. First off, this is our second official two-parter episode. Our first was the Melvins, which we did episode 100.
Course of 6 months, it feels like.
Longer. So we did all Melvins albums. We still never covered the EPs because we were slow and we haven't found a way to do it. But I think we're actually going to figure out a way to do it pretty soon. But we did all the albums over the course of 3 episodes. Swans, we will also do every album over the course of 3 episodes, except it seems like it's cheating because I think they have like 15 albums total or something like that. If anybody doesn't know Swans, they're not little albums. They're quite big albums, and especially in like the more recent years, each album is like 2 hours long. So we're not doing that to ourselves. We're splitting them up. It's a big important band. It's one of my favorite bands of all time. One of my most influential bands of all time. I know you're a fan. I don't know how deep you go, but I imagine we'll get into it.
Yes.
So I'm excited.
I'll just say real quick. Yeah, you win. But yes, I love me some Swans.
They are one of the most important bands who have ever existed, in my brain at least.
Yeah.
One of the greatest. Michael Gira is one of the fucking most incredible artists. And they changed my life at a very young age with the albums we're going to be discussing today are the ones that I grew up with, which explains a lot about why I'm fucked up. But before we get into all of that, big ol' announcement. Okay. We've been at this, like you mentioned, 3 years. And I don't know, man, a discography per week for 3 years is a long time and a lot of... It's fucking 150 weeks in a row, dude. I'm exhausted.
We have not missed a week somehow.
I don't know how. Easy single album discographies helped a lot. Those helped a lot.
Yeah.
But
we cheated sometimes.
Sometimes, but we still did fucking big boys, all right? We did a lot of big, long episodes.
I mean, we're at 100. We've listened to 150 discographies.
Oh my God. It doesn't seem smart. Like,
yes.
And the thing I'm most surprised about, we're not ending the podcast, by the way. I know it sounds like we're leading to the most surprising thing about that for me is how much I retained, how much of all of 150 bands I still remember pretty clearly. Like all the albums, I don't remember all of it, but way more than I thought I would. And it's obviously because of the note taking and the discussing. Like it makes you remember even the stuff you don't want to remember so much.
It's absurd how much it shaped my life. Where like I've like made record purchases based on what we've listened to, because now I feel like I have this different understanding of music and in a cheesy way, like the history of music. Like there's more pieces to the puzzle I didn't have before. So absolutely. I get a little cheesy there. There's also like so much more to our musical vocabulary now. Like really, really close friend of mine, she asked me today, actually. She's been like throwing like little challenges, but like send me a song that this and this and this. Yeah. And it's like usually these really specific criteria. And today she said,
send me a song that you thought was going to be really, really bad, but ended up being good. Yeah. And because of this fucking podcast, I sent her a Mercury Rev song.
There
and she's like, this is perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, there's so many things like that where I just like, oh yeah, I'm definitely never forgetting that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I feel richer because of it.
Yes.
Having said that, we are ending the podcast. It's nice knowing you all. See ya. Go fuck yourselves. Kidding. We can't do a fucking discography per week anymore. It's too much. And we're not going to stop doing it entirely. We're going to do it twice a month. Okay. Twice a month instead of 4 times a month. But on the off days or off weeks.
Not even off weeks.
They're still on weeks.
Different now.
It's just now on every other week, we'll be discussing a brand new album that came out this year from whoever the fuck we want. And we're not just picking the things that we want to hear. I mean, we are, but we're also
listening to the Patreons.
The goddamn Patreon describers. I almost said prescribers, subscribers. Patreon.com/everyalbumever. If you join the Patreon and you join the Discord, there is a whole channel dedicated to just throw whatever albums you want us to cover on those days that came out this year. And it'll just be whatever year we're in. It'll help us build up toward our year-end episodes. It helps us stay a little bit more current and not quite in the dinosaur ages with some of these bands like Swans. And they're still around, so it doesn't count. But yeah, I think it'll be a nice way to mix it up. It's way easier on us. We'll be able to bank episodes, so we have more time to listen to the full discographies when we do those. And then in addition to the brand new albums from 2022, we'll also be doing little themed episodes every now and then. Stuff that we've learned from our vast hours and time spent listening to all these albums and bands that we have. So yeah, best albums that we've covered, worst ones we've covered, most interesting things that themed. We'll fucking figure it out as it goes. We're not doing it now. We'll figure it out as it goes along. But stuff that's a little bit easier for us so we can continue living our lives in peace and without forcing every moment to be listening to fucking music. I mean, it's good, but Jesus Christ.
Also, yeah, I feel like I've physically have dragged my body through hell to record sometimes. And yeah, I don't know. I'm sick in the head. Once you hit record, nothing else matters in the lead up.
Oh yeah.
It's just this episode, and then it stops, and then I go back
to the grind
or being depressed.
Yep.
Or
yeah. It is hit and record where everything stops mattering.
It's crazy. It's a crazy feeling. So thank you guys.
Of course. Absolutely. Thank you all for being kind, doing what you do. And for the people just jumping in and out, hey, see ya. Hi, come back.
Maybe
you don't have
jump
to.
In more now.
It's okay.
We'll have shorter episodes.
Maybe. Or they'll just come back for the same reason they come now, which is like, oh, I like this band. I'll see what they have to say. It's usually it's hard to avoid that pitfall, but I don't care as long as it still keeps us able to do this really, really exhausting show for the foreseeable future. But having said all of that, if you want to support us, you know what to do. Subscribe and like and comment. Talk shit in the comments if you want to do that. Tell a friend. Yeah, you don't have to do that either. Really, you can do whatever the hell you want. I don't really care anymore. Like I said, I'm just trying to coast. I'm trying to get by.
I want to get bigger and better. Tell your fucking friends.
Okay, do it for Alex. I'll be around. There's a full Spotify playlist on this era of Swans. There's a link in the description. We have playlists associated with pretty much every episode. You can find all those at everyalbumever.com. And yeah, Patreon, man. Just join Patreon, man. Just patreon.com/everyalbumever. You get bonus episodes. You get early access to the Loose Ends episodes. You get 20% off all our merch. You get to see our schedule in advance. You get to vote on polls. I just showed Alex the final results of the latest poll.
Man. Not the band I was rooting for, but it's going to be fun.
It's the band that I was rooting for, but also not this time that much rooting for.
Yeah.
I still one of my favorite bands of all time.
Sure.
I'm okay with that.
It's a win-win for Mike.
It is a win-win for me. So you can vote on polls there. You can what you can do is you can join the goddamn Discord, be a part of a little community, talking shit, and really geeking out over music is really the main thing that we do. And then also you can suggest albums you want us to cover for our short 2022 episodes, and we pick them at random or whatever we're most interested in at that particular moment. And last not least, tier 2, if you're bigger than Jesus, then you can actually request a big old giant full-fledged fat episode.
Which
I'm still getting emails. People are just requesting. I'm not going to do them. We're not going to do them.
what if they're just listening to old episodes and they don't know about them?
We've been plugging this for like a year now. They're only listening to the old ones then. Because I've been saying this for a long time. We are not doing standard requests anymore. We can't. It's especially now. Now that we're only doing twice a month, it's
Real
impossible.
scarce.
Impossible. We need to be paid. That's the only way we can do it. We can't do that if you go there and it's fun and it's cool and all that. Okay. Okay. I'm exhausted and we haven't even started the fucking band. So
Yes.
Swans it's not only one of my favorite bands of all time. It's not only a band that you love a lot. It is a band that was the most requested episode in our entire history of the show.
I didn't know that.
I didn't even bother writing down names because everyone fucking requested it.
Yeah. Our fans are feasting right now because to me it was a long time ago, but really it wasn't even that long. You guys get Jesus Lizard and Swans, and in reality, Jesus Lizard could have just as easily been like celebratory.
Oh yeah,
episode.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, at least for me, where I have this strong attachments to these bands, and this was the same time period as when I found Jesus Lizard. Maybe I think it's before actually, but
I discovered Swans at the worst time.
Tell me.
Because I remember getting into Neurosis, which
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be a long episode. But
they are associated though, which is
because
Jarboe especially.
I was gonna say they did an album with Jarboe. I was like, who is this? And then that led me to Swans. What a two unsettling bands to get into at similar times.
Oh yeah. They for fans of Swans, you understand. For fans of Swans who don't know what they started out as, you're in for some shit.
This is music for mentally unstable people, recorded by mentally unstable people.
I agree and disagree because this band helped me a lot. And also,
well, no, there's that, but
it also in a very
specific sort of person.
Yeah, in a very fucked up way. This band helped me a lot because, and then for people who don't know Swans, they have probably the most impressive musical journey in all of rock music.
Just what we're doing today is crazy.
Yeah,
start to finish for this episode is crazy.
This would be a respectable and wild discography if it was just this era.
Yes.
Every era is so insanely different from the one before. It's they're basically three, not just different bands, but completely different genres, and like it's really crazy. But this specific era is the most brutal music that's ever been made, I think, in rock music.
It's some of the most like I would say like socially unacceptable things to listen to, and there's plenty of socially unacceptable music that we like or that people know about. Like we've talked about Necrophagus and Emperor.
That's true. But metal is still super accepted. It's
like a scene. This is not a scene.
So people hear Necrophagus will be like, oh, that's that fucking death metal shit. Turn it off. But they know what it is.
Sure.
Early Swans is just murderous butcher music.
Just a homeless man screaming in a like.
If that homeless man had you in his dungeon with hooks everywhere, it's the most murder music that's ever been made that I've ever heard. There's nothing more. This is the only music I can kind of classify as scary because I like horror themes, and there's a lot of music that you can kind of coincide with horror and it makes sense with it. This is the only thing that kind of stands alone. It doesn't even need to be in a movie. It's like already scary by itself.
I think because I was getting into them and Neurosis at the same time, I saw some similarities. Obviously, Swans is very different, but
more atonal.
I found the vocal performances in both bands horrifying. Like, so
they have their own brands, their own flavors of awful, and I do mean awful in a good way.
Also,
I suppose.
I never like put two and two together how much Michael Gira in this time they're kind of black metal-y vocals.
They're not shrieked. They're not screamed. They're just kind of yell.
They're more like Tom Warrior and Celtic Frost.
Yeah, he's more of a yeller.
Yeah.
And a few moments he does do some weird, crazy screams, but it's not that often.
I correct myself, not black metal, but specifically Tom Warrior.
Tom Warrior is a very he's kind of a voice unto himself.
Yes,
but this music, it's like you can't show this to most people and then have them agree that it's music. And I can't even make an argument that's like, okay, it's just this genre. It's not this genre. It's just this band. And even, which is there's like a quote from Jarboe later on where she didn't even realize that Swans was a band. She was a fan and kind of joined them and was like friends with Gira. And she's like, I thought this was like an art project. Like that's how fucked up they are.
It's, again, because I have this sister. I could see how she maybe thought they were similar to like a Crass, which kind of was an art project in some ways.
And check out that episode, by the way. But Crass is still, you're not going to mistake them for not a band. Those were songs. Those were punk, hooks.
Yeah.
And like, they had this whole culture around them and they were, I'm sure, smelled like shit. But it was very much a music. Where this, because Michael Gira, even though by all accounts he's like a really nice guy, he's a tyrant when it comes to his music.
Mm-hmm.
He straight up gets rid of members for playing too musical. like you too many notes. You gotta go. You're playing too well. You need to fucking stop.
Yeah, we'll get into that with a guitar player.
The guitar player, the first drummer, get replaced because he was too good.
I read. You should probably look at the quote thing, but the one of the guitar players was talking about how when they added drums to it, it sounded too much like Black Sabbath. So let's cut the drums.
Yep. Yeah. And I respect the holy hell out of Gira's weird vision because it's not it wouldn't leave the ground, I think, in many cases because of how rough and abrasive and not user friendly it is. But this one happened to leave the ground and then it happened to grow and evolve and expand into something beautiful.
It is interesting thinking about a band like Suicide, which again is
check out that episode.
Yeah. Look at us. Again, I
covered everybody.
I have the language to talk about this. Again, weird experimental music happening in New York City.
Yeah.
How that it wasn't really for me, but there's just something about this that speaks to the angriest parts of my soul.
This isn't just anger. This will
no.
This will fill you with all the cathartic, angry, deepest, darkest depths of anger. But there's something so much more traumatic and truly horrific about these songs. The lyrical matter. I think Gira's upbringing and obviously what inspired it.
I didn't realize how fucked up his upbringing was, but I think the lyrical content, once you bring in sexual violence, it for me personally, that's a whole new level of gnarly. Cannibal Corpse, that feels like a Saturday morning cartoon to me.
It might as well be at this point. And
this is very real and disturbing.
This is an Ari Aster movie. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's actually worse than that. This era Swans is a musical version of a snuff film.
Yeah, I was going to compare it to a Serbian film, but that movie's garbage. The thing is
that was all shock value, wasn't it?
This is
pretty sincere.
I was gonna say, no, you can make a case, even though you said it's hard to defend his music, but you can make a case for it.
You can, because there is not an ounce of inauthenticity in this, and even if it makes you miserable hearing it, that is a huge part of what he wanted to do. He not make you bored, but make you feel bad. Also, and it fucking works. It makes you feel bad.
Also, I think the point of art, whether it's a movie or a band, is to make you feel things. And I don't think those emotions always have to be happy or
Absolutely not. I don't
You
strive to make happy music.
yeah, you could. There's a whole palette of emotions to play with. So yeah,
And especially with a guy like me who's really into good horror, where it's the kind that fucks up your day. This is exactly what I crave in a lot of music that just doesn't deliver. That's why, of course, I love Lingua Nota, yada yada yada. But I've mentioned her a million times. But it's the same thing where it's like it really pulls something out of you that you probably didn't want to bring up at any point, but it just did it anyway.
I also think because the subject matter is so dark, it's like you need the skills to do it. Otherwise, it could come across as laughable or just outright bad.
A lot of time, and I don't think Swans is exempt from that. I think they do some stuff that's like, all right, just fucking chill.
Yeah.
But the parts that hit are so perfect, and I've heard nothing like it. Nothing to this fucking day. They started in 82. To this day, nothing that actually channels that true barbarism.
I can't imagine hearing this band in the 80s. Like, holy shit.
Especially early 80s. Like, there was nothing like this. I mean, nothing. Sludge didn't exist yet, and they were doing sludge. But not just sludge, the most brutal, heavy, like atonal, gut-wrenching sludge that even today there aren't that many bands that do.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible thing.
We should cover Thor's Hammer one day.
Really, Thor's Hammer, why? Explain to me.
Because it's short and Burning Witch. They're short. I think they're like one albums, and it's this like really like slow, grindy sludge.
All right.
I don't know why your description, like, I haven't thought about those two bands in a while. Just
oh shit. All right. Well, maybe it's a sign.
Yeah.
But we have plenty to cover, and of course we got our history boy Tom Osman, who he's a huge Swans fan. It's one of the things that we bonded over when we first started talking, and he had a field day with this. He compiled a bunch of stuff for us. He leaves some pretty funny little opinions in there, and I think him and I disagree quite a bit on the band, even though we both love the band, which is again the fact that you can both love a band and have such wildly differing and opposing opinions on it.
Little nuances.
It's crazy. So follow him on all social media at Tom Osman Sounds, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And also check out his Substack, tomosman.substack.com, where he writes about music and all the things and all the ramblings and all the cool stuff. In addition to his debut album, So Much for All on Day's Work. And he's very good at that too as well. And he does a lot of work for us, and he's very good and very cool and very rad. But he compiled a lot of stuff from the book by Nick Soulsby from 2018 called Swan, Sacrifice, and Transcendence, The Oral History.
I'm gonna try to read.
I think I'm gonna buy that book too.
Yeah.
Like just reading the snippets from that he pulled for us, it's like, oh, this is for me. Hello. There's a nice story from Henry Rollins that I remember from the album that's a great album that he pulled the quote from, and I want to talk about that when we get to it. We got some quotes from our boy Mark Prindle, who we talked about in the past. He's a former record reviewer who inspired my writing and inspired me to he gave me all kinds of great bands that I would have never found otherwise. Great writer and stuff. So there's some quotes from him, and there's also like various reviews from the time period, like news clippings from like magazines and whatnot. But goddamn, so I guess backstory. I mean, this is gonna be like the longest first chunk of episode we've probably ever done. But
I had no idea how gnarly Michael's upbringing was. So
well, first off, he's the guy. And through this era, like you're gonna get a lot of
he's Swans the way Trent Reznor is Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, for the most part, he is like the guy. And he's had tons of revolving door musicians, but the one that sticks, or the ones that stick, are Norman Westberg on guitar and Jarboe on vocals and keyboards and whatnot. She comes a little bit later, but Norman comes on the second record.
We'll let you guys know.
Oh yeah, but we get all kinds of in and out people. We get Jonathan Cain for a while on drums, who's a great drummer. Dan Braun for a little bit. You get Jonathan Tesler for a little bit, but it's fun stories. And Rolly Mosiman, and Harry Crosby. Those are like the main ones from that were around a long time. But other than that, there's going to be a lot of people in and out. We'll talk about them as they come up. If they come up, it's very, it's complicated. It's so much shit. But back to what you were saying, Michael Gira's insane upbringing.
Yes, and so he comes from a wealthy family and who lived in California. His dad was an army ranger and I guess somewhat of a businessman, according to Tom's notes.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that Gira. I'm gonna keep fucking up. He said he doesn't remember a lot of his childhood.
Wonder why?
Due to blacking out, which I don't really blame him.
No. How could you?
And then this is where it starts getting so his parents end up getting a divorce.
How old was he at the time?
Like 10 or 11. Maybe, I don't think there's an age there. But
I forget. It might have been 7 or 8.
But yeah, so his mom tried to stab his dad. She slipped into alcoholism.
Yeah, the dad left
like completely. After. So they went from like the lap of luxury to being poor. Yeah,
so he was 7 or 8. Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ! Like, so the quote is from Daniel Gira, which is Michael's younger brother. He says, when the divorce happened, there was some nasty shit that went down. Like, my mom tried to stab my dad one night, and we were all watching as she goes for him with this butcher's knife. We were very well to do, but that vanished all in a ball of flames. Jesus Christ! So the dad leaves. They're stuck with the mom, who is a full-blown alcoholic, and now they're dirt poor.
Mm-hmm. And then, at the age of 12, Michael's life gets a little more interesting.
Oh, boy, do I relate to this. Yeah, he got heavy into drugs at 12.
Were you doing drugs at 12?
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you. Oh, yeah. No wonder you guys.
I quite relate to Michael Gira.
That is a tender age.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have a pretty dark history, too. But... You wonder why I'm fucked up? All right. Sorry. I listen to Swans at this age too. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So also they had an older brother named Rob, who left pretty quickly after things started getting bad, and that made everything way worse. Michael developed a stutter because of all the trauma. And then 12, he started doing the drugs.
Inhaling gasoline, spot remover, glue, as well as taking LSD, barbiturates, and amphetamine.
What's Seconal?
I don't know, but he fucking injected it with a veterinary syringe and still has an abscess
barbiturate
on his left bicep from doing that.
Fucking from injecting some random shit. That's
with a syringe made for animals.
That's right. It was for a veterinary syringe. Yeah. Oh my God. Jesus Christ, dude. That's.
And you're like, well, it can't get worse than that.
Can't get worse, huh? Well, it does. It does in many ways.
Because he gets arrested
at 13
for possession of drugs.
And apparently the police wouldn't. This is from Tom. This is Thomas. He says the police wouldn't release him into his mom's custody. Wonder why?
Mm-hmm.
The choice was either go to juvenile hall till he was 18 or be taken into custody of another relative. So his dad came back and took him in. And you'd think that would be better. And in fact, it was not better.
Yeah, it's weird how he says, like, because at first him and his dad end up in South Bend, Indiana, and he said that kind of saved him.
Yeah.
But like
it saved him
him for like a year.
So if say you're on this proverbial train track, and then you're going down this path that's going to lead to certain death, and someone hits the fucking switch and it veers you into a different kind of certain death. It's all it was.
Yes, because Indiana doesn't last long. His dad got a job in Europe. And then during a trip to Paris, he ran off with some hippies.
As one would do.
And then started doing acid again.
Yeah, and I always forget how old he is, because he didn't start Swans until he was like his late 20s, early 30s. So during this whole period when he was like 13, he ran off with the hippies in Belgium. And that's where he first saw Pink Floyd, Soft Machine, yes. And it was around 68 or 69, which is like...
Nice.
I mean, that's right around... I was like, holy shit, he really is old.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then
I'm amazed he's still alive.
I am so grateful he's still alive. I'm so grateful I get to see them at least once. And they're still fucking making amazing. Oh, I love them. So that doesn't end there. Of course, it doesn't end there. Tom says Michael ended up getting arrested again. His father tracked him down through Interpol and gave Michael an ultimatum of working in a tool factory in Germany or a private school in Switzerland. Michael chose the factory. He was 14 at the time. His dad then decided this is a bad idea and sent him to school. Michael then ran away again, ended up with some more hippies, hitchhiked through Europe to Israel. Further run-ins with the law ensued, and some nasty experiences in jail, at one point ending up in a prison for adults. And things get worse.
They do get worse, because you know what happens in jail.
Not just jail. Weird, shitty European jails.
Rape happens in jail.
He didn't get raped.
No, because, as he said, he was an exotic American boy with blonde hair.
Yeah.
But he had the hippies were also...
He had some boys. He had some friends.
But that doesn't protect you from the horrifying noises.
This is the quote. Gira says, "I was a young, pretty, blonde-haired American boy stuck among these criminals, and it was pretty scary. I was harassed constantly. I saw, and worse, heard, one of the younger prisoners orally raped by multiple prisoners nightly. Each night he'd throw up in the sink as the older prisoners laughed. Fortunately, the hippies I knew from the kibbutz had also been arrested, so they protected me to a certain extent. I was scared shitless every second I was in there." I mean,
So somehow he ends up back with his mom in Torrance.
dude, people should be fucking on their hands, and he's grateful that the Swans was as tame as they were after going through all that.
And somehow his high school time is less turbulent.
Yeah.
Usually high school is when people...
Well, when you start
when you lived a whole ass life.
When you've lived, an eternity within 4 years.
14 years, yeah.
I mean, less, honestly. Jesus Christ. So...
But that's when he starts getting into music.
Yeah. And
I don't know any of these bands.
No, they didn't really do anything. He started a few like small bands, called one of those Little Cripples, Strict IDS, and then he started his second band, Circus Mort, with Circus Mort, yeah. So in Circus Mort, that's where he met, or that's where he started working with Jonathan Cain on drums and Dan Brown on bass. And obviously, they're very short-lived. There's no recordings. They came and went. But that kind of paved the way for Swans. So I think, if I remembering correctly, well, if you have a point, go ahead.
Oh, no. I just thought we were moving on. I know he gets accepted into art college.
It's right.
Yes.
Oh shit, I'm forgetting. There's a lot. There's a
lot in here, but not much happens there. I mean, we have this fast track to him moving to New York.
That's basically when it all happens, because while being in all these bands, he's very much like, you know what? I need to be completely in control. This is the only way it's going to work. And that mentality, I've noticed, like, I miss it, because these days there's like so many fucking bands and there's so many artists, and there's just, if you want to be the mastermind guy, have some money to pay people, because you're not going to find these like homeless dedicated musicians the way they were in the 80s with these small scenes. It's just such a different musical world from then as it is now.
Yeah, this is like, I think part of him only knows, at this point in his life, only knows how to function in chaos. It
seems so, because then we start getting to the bunker era, where he lives in the bunker, quote unquote, the bunker.
Was not meant to be lived in.
No, for good reason. I mean, Jesus Christ.
There's no shower. There's no kitchen. There's a toilet, and it's 800 square feet.
Yeah, so this is the story about the bunker. I mean, we're jumping all kinds of shit, but I mean, we got to find a path to the band.
Oh, we're going.
I think we're going. So it was a living / recording space, and it was a bit rough. Gira says, "I was breaking up with my girlfriend and needed a place to live. I walked up the door, turned left on 6th Street, and there was a door open with some guy clearing out a storefront space. I said, 'Hey, it's a space for rent.' He said, $100 a month. You couldn't live there legally. There was a toilet, but no shower, kitchen, no kitchen, nothing, just a concrete box. 800 square feet total. I made a deal with the landlord and let him know I'd like to live there, but I wouldn't bother him. He said he didn't want to know that I could live there, but I could never complain. And boy, were there reasons to complain.
Oh boy.
As we will see later on. There's also, so Tom says this. I never heard this. I'm fascinated if it's true. He says, by the way, it's mentioned in this book that Michael Gira dated Madonna. It never gets talked about later, but maybe that's who Gira is talking about in the quote above. If he dated Madonna, weird, dude. Weird.
I don't know. Her palette of men is very...
Yeah, but they all had homes, right? She was pretty loaded at this time. He lived in a bunker.
I think Madonna has just fucked every type of dude imaginable.
I do agree. I do 100% agree. It is... I think what jars my brain the most is the worlds. This flashy, glamorous pop with heroin needles and feces.
Pop music... a lot of times is fake. It's an image you put on.
Yeah, of course.
Where like Swans is like you live it.
Yeah. Oh boy, they live it.
You couldn't fake this type of
not the way they did it, because they were in New York at this point in the early 80s, and they snuggled right into the no wave scene. And I've talked about no wave in the past, and a lot of bands that were considered no wave. Lydia Lunch, she offers a lot of insight here because she was around at the time period. She had her band Teenage Jesus and the Jerks, and no wave. Even though it's super crazy and I think it's super cool, you always kind of know it's no wave. It has a feel and like it's a genre, like it's a subgenre. You could recognize no wave as a thing, and Swans did that for a second, but I think that changed very quickly for one, but also he, or at least Gira, credits that scene to being like super open. Like they were open to basically anything crazy.
Sure.
So there was a home for a band like Swans, which I think anywhere else that would not have been the case.
And then, they talk about how there was really only 2 or 3 venues they could play at.
But they were there.
Yeah.
At least that. I don't think, he fucking starts the same band in the Midwest or maybe even LA. I can't imagine any kind of comparison. Like, what the fuck was it in LA that was close to the insanity of no wave?
Yeah, I guess
at that time period.
I guess the closest thing, and I mean I think this predates whatever Steve Albini was doing too, right? Like
it does by a little bit, not by that much, but even Steve Albini was like, it was different, but it was at least you can kind of shoehorn it into punk territory. Big Black was punkish, even though it was more Razor and there was a drum machine. But it's again, nothing is like this. So I'm gonna keep talking endlessly about that apparently instead of moving on. How did they start? It was just Gira and Kane, right? Jonathan Kane.
Yeah, and that bunker and that that pretty much brings us to the
first EP.
To the EP. We did it.
We fucking made it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. How long have we been talking? We've been doing basically a whole episode before we got to the first record, which I knew would happen. It's okay. I knew it would happen. But out of this entire area, it's 1982 to 1986. This is all the albums that we're going to be covering, including a few EPs, 4 EPs and 5 albums, I believe. I think.
I would say 4 albums, 1 compilation.
There we
4
go.
EPs.
Better. 4 EPs, 4 albums, 1 compilation. Way better. Okay.
There we go.
Jesus Christ. It's a long discography, but whatever. First EP, 1982. Last album and EP, 1986. Okay. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, finally. Here we go.
Shit queued up. Let's do this.
Let's do it. This is 1982's self-titled.
I've never listened to this before.
That's how it is on the
Yes, that's on my phone.
That is only the streaming version is like that. For some
really?
reason. Yeah. The same with something we'll talk about later. So you haven't heard this?
No. And it's interesting. And we've covered other bands where their first release isn't like what they're known for.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting when a band decides to pivot so quick. Like
This is
not us.
This is not even close to what they'll ever sound like ever again. This is no wave. This
Yes.
is exactly no wave, like to a T.
I think it's good.
It is good. It's very good. But this sounds like almost every other no wave band except a little bit darker.
Yes, so you got the spirit of Beefheart going on, and
Very fast, herky jerky drums,
some free jazz,
saxophones.
funky bass. Yep.
The saxophone is really like the key element of no wave.
Yes.
Like the wild.
And this actually sounds like the 80s.
Yeah.
Where
The rest won't.
is timeless, I guess.
I suppose so.
I don't know what else.
I really do like this EP and this song
So
a
do
lot.
yeah.
I remember when I first heard it, I couldn't believe it was Swans.
Yeah.
So
That is the most misleading first record, I think, one at least in the top 10 of records we ever covered, the most misleading, because that's just no wave.
Also similar to like we also covered the Birthday Party,
Yep.
and their first record is very, very misleading.
Oh yeah, was
Yeah.
it Door? Yeah, that's like pop almost.
Yeah.
And so this is. I mean, I think every song is great. I think it's an awesome EP, even if it's its own thing. It's basically a different band.
It's really short and easy. That first song made me think of, like I said, like Beefheart, free jazz stuff.
Yeah.
But Speak felt a little more krautrock. The drums
For sure.
and the bass are more driving, while maybe the other instruments are doing some noodling.
That song really reminds me of early Sonic Youth, which is not surprising. Same time period, same area. They were associated. We're gonna get some quotes from Thurston Moore at some point.
I had no idea they basic peers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I had no idea they were friends. So
Yeah, and early Sonic Youth, I think, is the best Sonic Youth. That's my favorite era of them. I think it's the most interesting, at least. But I mean, I don't think the other stuff is. They're a good band, whatever. But that early stuff is pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
And here, so taking away all that, this is actually a pretty condensed and solid, consistent EP because you get. It
goes by so quick.
Super short. So the first two tracks fast, a little bit slower, and then the last two tracks fast, slower. It just alternates. It never feels. It just I don't know. It scratches all the right itches. It's super short. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't know. Like maybe no wave isn't your thing, but there's nothing wrong with this.
I think Sensitive is
Sensitive Skin.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Because that's the only one that you could say is sinister and creepy.
It is. It is very dark. It's very creepy. I think it's awesome.
That's the only song, and not even really, where you're like, oh, there's something else going on.
Yeah, because those guitars are straight out of a horror movie. They're really, really fucking cool. But even hearing that, you would never even imagine where they would go next. There's no way you could have possibly. But there's a lot of really fucking great hooky moments. I think, especially on Speak, where I mean that chorus. I mean, it's all very no wavy. Again, it's all no wavy, but it's still cool. I think it's very, very fun. And then like Take Advantage is I don't know. I feel it's. I mean, all no wave felt very English, but
you could hear some of that too. Yeah.
Yeah, you could hear it there too, and it's atonal, but it's still groovy. All the songs are pretty similar, but it feels good. It's a nice little EP.
It is.
This is the only record we'll have. Was it Daniel Galliduani? I can't read that name. It looks Italian.
I would say that's close enough.
He said, this is a quote from Daniel. He says, "What I remember was the bass line, then the guitar player who had never played with Mike or Jonathan before and was instructed by Mike, who told him exactly what he wanted. It was pretty loose. Mike had an idea where it was going, and he let it flow without interruption. We went home and Mike worked with the engineer. It was beautiful how he made everything work together. Well, look at that. And he
There
would
we go.
never be heard from again."
Never again.
So
Nice EP. Check it out.
yeah, if you're a fan at all of this band, it's just it's so easy to miss. Like, I didn't know this thing existed until years after I was a fan.
It is kind of buried on the deluxe version of Filth for people who want to check it out.
Yeah, all this stuff, the early stuff, 3 of the things we're covering is going to be on the Filth Deluxe Edition streaming, which has problems. It has problems. There are things in there that are confusing that make things longer than they should be.
You can't tell where one thing ends and another begins. It's a real Cronenberg.
It is a Cronenberg of an album. I will tell you where things end though, because
That's
I
what
think
we're
it's
here
important.
for. Yes.
But this is a great EP. Check it out. It's on there. Anyway, moving on. Here we are. The first actual album. This is the introduction of Norman Westberg. Here we go, everybody. This is 1983's Filth.
So filthy.
Yeah, this band didn't have riffs. They had rhythmic pounding.
I mean, getting a little hit on the next album, they literally played garbage. Trash.
They have a lot of wild percussion on this record, on the next one,
Yeah.
on the next few, really. And these are the vocals that we're going to get for a while.
And yet, that's very Tom Moore. Well,
Right.
if you're a fan of.
I think it's better, but I do see the
yeah.
comparison. It's not that much better, to be honest.
And there's no social setting where this is okay to put on, even if you both like Swans.
Even if you both like Swans, it's... I love it, though. Okay, so that goes on and doesn't really change much.
Let me tell you, I'm glad I was introduced to this the same time I was getting into like sludge,
Yeah.
because they're different.
They are different, especially this album.
But sludge gave me the patience for where I sought out that kind of brutality.
Best. And I didn't think this was best growing up. This was
Really?
this is a brand new revelation to me.
Yeah.
That I think this is the best album of this era.
I
have very conflicting feelings that there's things that I love that I think should be best, but there were like little things that like took it out for me, like little things.
it was hard for me to pick a best, but this was in the running.
This is a fucking amazing album that is one of the most difficult and brutal to listen to.
I mean, in the scheme of Swans, I think it's easier to listen to.
And this is why I think it's the best, and why I can't stop going back to it. And it's the reason drummer fucking Jonathan Cain left the band is because of the drums.
Yeah.
The drums on this. So what this album is essentially is the insane, heavy, sludgy brutality that they'll go on to be, combined with the early no wave stuff. The drums are still holding on to the really rhythmic, really like jazzy almost.
Yeah.
But behind that is the most pounding, crazy bass and just clangy metal scraping sounds. And obviously Gira screaming. So it has this really intricate rhythm section that's also really, really, really devastatingly heavy.
It's crazy how now, in the present time of recording, it almost feels like bands like this are almost a dime a dozen. But to like go back and this be like, I don't think anyone was really
No one. I can't
doing
think of
this in the 80s.
a single band at this point. It's just too early. It's too early and it's too fucking weird. And what makes there's only like a few discernible riffs on the entire album. One of them is in Power for Power, which you can actually hear this really sinister, creepy guitar line.
On top of that guitar line, the and I'm doing this in quotes, the off time drumming.
Yeah.
It feels off, but I'm sure it's done on purpose. Is just so anxiety inducing. This being like a beat or a beat and a half behind the rest.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There's some super unsettling moments, but so that's like one of the only, it might be the only riff I can make out because everything is so clangy and bass, and the bass notes are, I guess he's playing notes, but you can't really tell. It's mostly like chords, bass chords, and like really, really detuned.
Probably not a riff, but I will say Weakling is another track where they kind of use noise rhythmically.
That's what the album is really.
Yeah, but I think in
Weakling
terms
is-
of
yeah.
like things that will get stuck,
Oh yeah.
because nothing's gonna get stuck in your head unless you're disturbed by it. But
so many songs got stuck in my head, and I kept like this time. I was like, "Oh, man, that song is so catchy."
I will say, from an outsider or people who don't like this, a lot of them seem interchangeable.
Sure, of course.
But that's what I mean by like weakling is kind of like a step above though, or
I don't know what the fuck these sounds they're using are. I mean, there's a little bit of description here from Jonathan Tesler, who came in with percussion, quote unquote, and all the tape loops and keyboards. Tape loops are a big part of this time period. Like Butthole Surfers use them a lot. Go check out that episode. And then they use them a lot in Swans and a lot of these really crazy, creepy sounds that make these songs, or because of that stuff like that. But really, this whole thing, it's just they find this weird hooky rhythm that happens to be really, really, really clangy, and it sounds like they're scraping metal together or they smashing fucking steel beams against each other.
They literally pound it into your head.
They really do. But it's so fucking the part. So the reason why I like this one more so than the others is because of the. I can't. My vocabulary is leaving me because it doesn't apply to this kind of music. Mm-hmm. Like it's not catchy, but it registers as catchy. It's not like there's no hooks here. It's not fun, but they feel like like they could be somehow. Like, so I'm gonna, without fucking shitting all over your ears any longer, what did it for me that made me really like, oh shit, these are like still songs, even though it's pure chaos and cacophony. Thank you. The song Thank You.
Yeah.
Absolutely fucking rules. Because I don't think it's a perfect album. I don't love Right Wrong very much. I think Gang is a really, really weak closer.
I disagree.
Really?
Because you have the term death metal fatigue. What?
Oh, death metal syndrome?
Syndrome, where you get fatigued by listening to brutal music.
Yeah.
And I think that could be, applied here. But like, for some reason, I found Gang the most disturbing song on here.
Really?
And I'm like, this like speaks to like the songwriting that like at the end of this, I'm like, oh man.
That's when you're feeling it.
Yeah.
God damn. But my original point was, so I don't love Right Wrong. I think it's one of the weaker songs here, but following that is Thank You, which put on a little bit of Thank You.
Okay.
Because it is the most addicting drum beat I have heard in so long.
Of course, that's the riff.
Drum beat.
Oh, it's coming. I already feel it. God damn, this rules. It's just noise, but I fucking love it.
It's kind of like listening to a train. Like,
it is.
Yeah, like the chugga. And it's this.
That's the riff.
Yeah.
That drum line is the riff. God damn, I just want to fucking smash someone's head in while listening to this. Oh my god, doesn't it make you want to kill someone?
I'm not quite there.
Oh, dude, I love it. Kill someone in a happy way, though.
I was going to say, this is probably like, there's a level of fun if you like brutal music here. I don't know quite how to describe it, but there's a level of fun we won't be having pretty soon.
Yes. So they become one of the most depressing bands, and I don't mean depressing as in sad songs. I mean depressing as in any bit of light that you feel from music is sucked out and replaced by murder. Mm-hmm. And this is a little bit of that. But it's not all that. This one still has some dancing
rhythm,
to it. Not quite tribal, but in a tribal kind of way where it's channeling these really big pounding rhythms, and it moves. The songs move, and I think it has a good flow to it. It's not a long album; it's like 35 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's very nice to see little package that the band never kind of went for again, because that would get way darker and way more brutal. I think I fucking love this record. I don't know. I mean,
it's great.
Big strong boss where these drums it sounds just sort of hitting metal. It's so fucking crazy.
And yeah, that's to me the first sign of like industrial music.
They were basically the first industrial band. I mean, Ministry was around before them, I think.
I don't know my history, but like, yeah, that's a genre Swans would start going into more as we go on. So like, Big Boss is kind of like their first industrial song.
Yeah, Big Strong Boss. I mean, goddamn, such cool rhythms. And fucking Blackout, the song, just the way he says Blackout like over and over again. It's sadistic.
I never thought I would use the term a more deranged birthday party to describe a band, because the birthday party's already deranged.
They're so deranged, and this fuck makes them look like chumps. And I mean, I still love the band.
When the birthday party gets too normal for you, Swans is your next go-to drug.
Really, it's in a very sick way. Yes. So during this time period, Sue Hannell was on guitar. She's not on this recording at all, but apparently she was like beloved and praised by, Thurston Moore here and Bob Burt were both praising. They're saying that she was a legend because she was like, this is according to Thurston Moore. He says she was this young lesbian girl who played the most incredible loud splaying guitar. It's such a great mystery how she vanished. and after this, I think she left or they replaced her because she didn't like playing the same thing. She just she was too much of a free spirit.
Yeah,
she wouldn't recreate what she did. And if you've heard Swans, they're quite repetitive. That's like I could have mentioned out of the gate, like they are the most repetitious band ever. Really, like their entire thing is built on one riff, building for like 20 minutes. I mean, to this day, that's like their thing. But they also had fucking multiple basses on stage.
Big bottoms.
Oh, what a great song.
I always think about that song when I hear multiple bass players.
It's a great song. Fucking love Spinal Tap. 3 basses, why not? But so according to Gira about the two basses, he says 2 bass players playing what we called the staircase chord, which I understood what he was saying immediately when he said that.
Some of us don't know what staircase chords or ostrich tuning.
Well, no, he made up that term, but I visualized it.
I know.
Oh, ostrich tuning, fucking. It is a cool tuning.
Yeah.
He says, I had no idea what notes I was playing, but I've since found out that say you're playing an open E, then you play the octave of the E on the next string, then on the string after that you depress the fret in between, so it creates like literal staircase with your fingers. But it's one of those dissonant chords. He says I think it's called a flattened fifth. I don't know what it's called. All I know is it's just the dissonant chord. It's all it. But the thing is, the fact that he didn't even know what he was playing, and there's 2 bass players playing it, shows that the notes weren't exactly the top of the priority list with this band at this point in time.
I could also see why the guitar player, this kind of thinks like, there's room for some experimentation.
Yeah, Norman was just playing whatever.
Yeah.
And if you, in certain recordings, not these early ones in the studio so much because the guitar is very buried, but in some of the live stuff you can hear the guitar clearly. He is playing nonsense. Like it's like what's the word? It's repeated and it's like he's doing something intentional, but it is still like intentional nonsense. It's like a nonsense that he wrote down basically. But anyway, man, there's just so much fucking history.
I mean, we can't go through it all. Maybe the album art, because if you're a Swans fan or a Noise fan or a metal fan, perhaps you've seen this album art.
It's a pretty iconic cover for that scene.
Yeah.
This is it was done by Sonda Anderson Papin. So I'm assuming it's a she, right? Sonda's a woman.
That sounds like it.
I imagine. I've never heard the name Sonda before. Sonda. But anyway, they say Mike Neo was a graphic designer, so I designed the cover of Filth for free. I handled the layout, design, colors, and fonts. The only direction from Mike was to make the word Swans more distressed. The teeth came from Alexa Hillman, Rolly Maziman's wife, who was working at a dentist's office. So it's
there you go.
Pulled directly from a dentist's office. That's neat. So this is the last album we'll get, with Jonathan Cain. Jonathan Cain is gone after this.
For being too good.
And playing too many cool things. He says, it wasn't really all that dramatic, my leaving. I had a lot of respect for Michael, and I was reasonably proud of the work we'd done together. But aside from my contributions to the rhythmic concept, Swans was Michael's band, his vision. I liked it, but not enough to commit. And this is from Gira. He says, Jonathan and I did not see eye to eye on the use of drums. He's a very skilled drummer, but his vocabulary was way too big in my view, so he overplayed. No hard feelings, just different approaches. That was the reason for the parting. Rolly said, well, can I just do drums? And so he did. That's when COP happened, when things got really simple. And we say simple very loosely because it is simple technically, but how it makes you feel is not simple.
No.
We are moving on.
I am ready.
Oh boy, this is 1984's Cop.
This was the first Swans album I bought.
Oh,
It wasn't the first one I
shit.
heard. It wasn't the first one I heard, but it was the first one I bought.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Those squeaky noises are quite the choice.
This is just sludge. Full
It is.
sludge in 1984.
This is the most brutal, like you said, devoid of anything fun
Or hopeful.
albums ever. Like,
This album hurts. Yeah.
yeah, it makes the sludge parts on My War look like amateur hour,
And that's amazing because it is the same year, and that's such a revolutionary album for metal.
right?
And then this, the same fucking year.
Yeah. I didn't know that, so I'm glad you did.
Yeah. And by the way, that's a riff. It's just a descending chromatic scale, but
Yeah.
it's a riff.
Yeah.
You can nick it out. People must think we're fucking nuts listening to this right now. Like, yeah, dude.
If you guys have a problem with this, go and listen to the Melvins for a little bit. After you listen to the Melvins, then give Swans a try.
Please, please.
Specifically early, like
Yeah.
Melvins, but
So this is a big one.
this is crazy. You gotta be in a fucking certain mood to
This is one of the most exhausting and punishing albums I've ever heard.
I heard one of my tattoo artists use the term pile drives the soul to so that
Oh,
is,
yeah.
that is a good description of
Oh yeah, every song beats you down in some way or another. And as you heard, again, if this is all noise to you, it sounds identical to the first album. But to us, psychopaths, that is such a different song than anything we've heard off Filth.
mhm.
It is so low, slow,
Yes.
pounding, heavy. And honestly, like, this is all based on mood. Like, you have to be in the right mood for this. Otherwise, this is one of the most painful and boring and difficult albums to listen to.
Yes.
Like, there's no veering from that.
Yeah, this is not going to win anyone who
No.
doesn't like heavy music.
No.
And even if they like heavy music, this is
Even
still a
then.
stretch.
Even then, because one amazing example of
Mm-hmm.
how strange and weird and ugly this album is Job, the song Job.
Dude,
I mean, that's a riff, even though it sounds like complete nonsense that on guitar. That's the riff of the song.
I think that's like, I mean, everything is brutal on here, but this like one of the most brutal songs on the album.
I love it. I
Yeah.
do love it, especially Gira's vocals. They're so goddamn sadistic on that song. The backup vocals are so unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
It's him yelling, but it's also these backup vocals doing this chanting low because he has a very cool, strong bass register. It's a very deep voice. So when he does these backup vocals, it's just it's like it's just creepy.
Also, we skipped over. She's not there vocally, but now,
Now we got some Jarboe.
yeah, she's officially joined the band on the keys.
Yeah, she's not doing a whole. I think she's not even on this record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she did join around this time.
That's right,
I just
yeah.
wanted to
Yeah,
get it before we forgot.
Oh
about
yeah,
it.
for sure. Where so
Right there.
yeah, I saw it right there. There's a whole there's a whole bunch of stuff going on this time period. Now that we got Rolly on drums, he's playing super. I mean, he's also like an accomplished like jazz drummer too.
Oh.
He's just playing super slow and restraining
Yeah,
himself.
and that playing slow is a whole different animal, and it's easy to listen to. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. it's this real easy to be like, this is simple, but when you have more space to fuck up, it's harder.
It is
hard in a different way.
It is equally hard. It's a different kind of, it's a different muscle. Instead of the muscle of trying to keep time with fills and whatever the fuck, it's this like, all right. It's always like like trying to control that reflex of like coming in too soon. It's like letting it sit, letting it breathe. And it's just it's a different muscle. It's a whole different, like it's not easy. It's a different part of the brain entirely, but so at this time period, he's not on the album, but John Hood was the percussionist around this time period. And this is interesting. He explains some of the equipment they used for percussion. It's fucking, I was trying to visualize. I couldn't fucking visualize. It's so strange.
Before you read it, it's so crazy because I remember like reading a quote from Tom Waits. I forget what album it was, where like he did something very similar, and I almost wonder if
I had it in Bone Machine, right?
Yeah. Where
all the crazy instrument stuff.
Yeah, like I think they found like a wooden desk or something on the desk on the street, and they just bought it in and like had the drummer like beat it with the stick or something late. And this is very similar. Very similar.
Making instruments out of trash, essentially. So John Hood's no, he didn't say this, but maybe he did say this. I believe he did say this. John Hood says second drums consisted, and I guess it's just percussion, but they call them second drums. Second drums consisted of an industrial metal table strapped with a chunk of air conditioning duct that was smacked with something Michael called the sword. He had taken one of the steel braces that held the table together and wrapped tons and tons of duct tape around one end. Then he got 2 kick drum sized floor toms, which I hit with the thickest fiberglass sticks I could get. I had to wear gloves while I played. There were no clocks in this world that capture the intensity of the timelessness we made. Full on, full tilt, full blast, I tell you. It would take an hour after rehearsal for our ears to readjust so we could even talk to each other again.
Psychotic.
Psychotic. And hearing that description, not on this album, but certain songs later on make sense, where I'm thinking like, how the fuck did they make that sound? And it's not just tape, because they did do tape loops of like, you know, them literally the sounds of metal being hit, and they would loop that. But them literally doing it in real time, also hitting metal in real time. And the shows were also wild. This is a quote from Lydia Lunch. She says, "I love Swans. They're one of the most devastating live experiences of my life. Swans were fully developed by the time I saw them in '84. They were an immaculate concept, brutal, unbearably loud, plodding oral torture of the most magnificent kind."
That's the best quote ever.
It's very good.
That's
Absolutely.
the best quote ever about Swans.
And there's even there's a quote from fucking J.G. Thirlwell from Fetus. That's another interesting band too. That guy has had a wild musical journey.
Yeah, he has.
It says, I first saw Swans live at the Pyramid. This lineup of Rolly, Harry, Norman, Michael, and John. It was one of the most extreme outpourings that I'd ever seen, ever, of sweat, snot, and saliva, visceral desperation and anger, both visually because of the amount of energy and exertion Michael put into it, and musically as well. Good Lord. So they weren't just on the record insane. They were the real deal. Now we're back. Jarboe. Now she's back. Okay. What happens?
Well.
Or how she meets him or whatever.
I guess Tom says it's important to note that Jarboe's parents were both CIA agents.
Oh, that's right. He says that they'll become part of the story later.
Later on.
I don't know what that is, but that's also pretty interesting.
But yeah, she made a cassette, sent it. I'm going to say his name wrong. Gira. And then he was hanging out with Thurston Moore. And
oh shit, that's right.
Yeah. She sent him this letter, and
it was like all gushy, right? It was like almost like creepy.
And it was like picture of her and a dude, and Michael's like, I don't want to meet this dude.
What the fuck's fucking dude?
This is weird. And Thurston's like, I think it's a lady. And he's like, oh,
hold on, dude.
I think I might want to meet you.
Maybe. Hold on a second. Let's hear this guy out. This is according to Tom. He says she wrote to Gira to ask for a lyric sheet because there was an address on Filth. She was taken by the lyrics. She made a cassette of some audio she was working on and sent it to Gira. He was interested. They started talking. And apparently she was connected to a radio station in Georgia and an art zine of a friend of hers. And she suggested coming to NYC to interview Michael. And he's like, but the quote from Michael, he was like, there's a picture of two people, a young man, a young woman. And he said, this letter's freaking me out. This guy wants to meet me. And Thurston said, I don't think that's the guy. I think it's the girl. He's like, really? You think so? Because the name Jarboe could...
I've never ever heard it anywhere else.
Ever. And sure enough, it was a lady indeed.
Mm-hmm.
And then things would progress further. So this, back to the album. Yes. We just talked a whole bunch about other stuff. I think this is, even though this is, it is a good album, and people consider this the best, the production really fucking bothers me. And it bothers me. It bothers me because of the main big thing. The drums, I think, sound like dog shit on this album.
Interesting.
They're tiny. They're almost like, if you isolate the kick drum, it sounds like a pop kick drum. Mm-hmm. Very small and like very punchy. And it sounds odd. And the cymbals, especially the hi-hat, are so buried. So you get a song like Your Property, which I fucking love that song. I think it's an awesome song.
Let me tell you. So up until this point, I haven't really been paying attention to the lyrics because it's just this overwhelming thing.
They're bleak.
And then Your Property comes on, and that one, in addition to the title track, which is kind of famous, infamous, whatever you want to use to describe Swans.
It's got a lot to it.
Those were the first two songs where, in terms of like history of the band going in chronological order, not in my life, but like, fuck, this is rough shit.
It's rough. And I love both songs.
And yeah, Your Property is like where you get some of the like bondage and sexual.
He is, oh my, and his fucking guttural yells and screams, he's going wild. And it's just so satisfying in a very dark and heavy kind of way. And then, so the title track, this song is very cool. It is very brutal. It's obviously brutal. And that's like, this is the quote from Henry Rollins. It's taken from his 1992 spoken word album called Human Butt, which I strongly recommend to everybody to check that out. It's very fun and very funny, great stories. Mm-hmm. So what had happened, he prefaces all this on the album. He got accused of rape by a girl that he was like briefly seeing. And I mean, I don't think he did it. The whole point of the story was that he didn't do it because she dropped the charges, and he's like, he lost all trust in women and cops after that, because after that, every cop just harassed him just because of the allegation. So he gets accused of this thing, and now wherever he goes, he's just accosted by any cop that sees him. So he lived in a tool shed in the back of Greg Ginn's house by himself, where he would drink a ton of coffee and then write all night while listening to music. That was like his thing. And one day, a fucking cop just bursts into the shed and holds him up at gunpoint for no reason. Just like I'm not going to read the whole quote because it's like a giant story, but he holds him up and says, "Freeze!" And he's like, "What the fuck?" And he's listening to fucking Cop. And then not only was he listening to Cop when this happened, he was listening to the song Cop from the album Cop while writing about killing a cop on his typewriter. And then a cop bursts into his tool shed, holds him up at gunpoint. He's like, "This can't be happening. This is no way this is really happening." Turns around and he's like, "Oh no, that's real. This cop is holding a gun to my face." And the cop says, "Do you live here?" And he, "Yes." And then he said, "Okay." And then he left. Meanwhile, you get Gira in the background screaming, "Nothing burns their skin like a cop. Nothing rapes them like a cop in jail." It is the most fitting and weird and crazy and kind of cool story that I've heard.
Also, I guess I guess punks were more like closed-minded in the 80s, but yeah, those lyrics, like, man, I can't think of a greater pitch for like punk music and metal fans. Like, hey, check out this fucking, oh, you think fucking Body Count's gnarly?
Oh, nothing. And even according to Gira, Cop isn't necessarily about cops, just more like about power. And that's why, I mean, even if you just read all of this era of Swan, read all the lyrics, it's very open-ended. They're very minimal.
I think there is a quote from Henry Rollins in here about the power, like,
that's right.
Michael's fascination with power dynamics and who's the victim and who becomes stronger out of these things, which makes a lot of sense, considering how fucked up.
Having gone through what he went through, and then now it's just the quote from Rollins. He says, he said, I became fascinated with Michael Gira's lyrics and his idea of power, where a victim through passivity and assault becomes a stronger one. I suppose so.
Yeah.
I mean, with songs like that, I mean, they're fucking, I mean, it's brutal. And there's I don't know. There's just too much here. There's just too much to talk about. We have to move on.
Yeah. I would say overall, like, this is one of those ones, like, I can appreciate it. I get it, but I need to be in a very, like, specific mood to throw this on.
It is punishing. And even as a kid, I'm like, I like this band, but I can't listen to the whole album in one sitting because it fucking destroys you. I mean, I could now, but it's not that like it bums you out. It just it's just so unbelievably dark in a very different way than most bands have gone dark.
Mm-hmm. Anyways,
we
got a few more.
We got a few more. So this. Oh, and this is a little note from our boy Tom. He says, "Cop is the best thing that Michael Gira has ever done that doesn't involve Jarboe," and then puts a photo of a mic drop, which I don't agree with that. In fact, I heavily disagree with that. I so disagree with that because there's like all my favorite albums don't have Jarboe on it.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna partake in that. I'm just gonna, have my feelings.
Yeah. Tom, you're thin ice, buddy. That's not true. You're doing a great job. But now we have an EP, a little EP. It's a long EP. It's pretty. And this is a semi-famous EP.
I didn't know that. Well, I guess everything's the Swans to me, and I don't really know what.
Well, in every quote, this next EP is referred to as the Raping a Slave EP, which is, it's officially called Young God, but everyone calls it Raping a Slave, which is interesting. It's one of the songs on there. It's not just a random title.
I could see how that title kind of overshadows it, but
it's confusing. I'll get into it more. But this came out same year, 1984. This is Young God.
Somehow even bleaker and slower than Cop.
Yes, it's kind of misleading in some way.
This song, I think you're right, is misleading because this song is brutal.
I will say he changes it up and does a little bit of a spoken word thing instead of a incoherent, rambling, screaming person thing. Yeah.
Which is the thing that he'll do for a long time.
Yes.
The spoken word stuff tends to work pretty well. It's creepy. It's creepy.
It's weird how this doing something on the surface is not really a big difference, but it does give it more variety and like, okay, I thought I was getting more Cop stuff.
Exactly. So this is the most clearly musical they've been since the first EP.
Mm-hmm.
It's dark and brooding, but you feel the musicality from it. It feels like a song. God damn, it's pounding. So it does that for like
30 minutes, not literally, but most of it.
Yeah, this is my personal favorite.
Worst, least favorite.
Whoa.
Holy shit. So, dude, this is it. I'm so confused but excited. Holy shit. Okay.
I feel like I'm kind of cheating in this episode because we do have a bit of an out. And I'm glad we have that out just by process of elimination.
Ooh.
But
we'll see.
I don't know what it was, like the like brutalness of Cop, and not that this isn't brutal, but I love the way this EP flows.
Really?
Start to finish. I
Oh,
like
wow,
every song on here.
That's exactly why I don't like it.
And I think the fact that it's a more musical, like in my head, it's probably like what I think Cop should be.
Ah, interesting.
Cause like this I can like make stronger cases for this, and it's why I gave it personal and not best, because I think there's something else. But
well, this is most famously was on Kurt Cobain's like favorite record list. This record specifically, which is like this one, like this one. I guess you get it too. I'm the fucking weird one here because I don't really like the song "Raping a Slave" so much. And here's the thing: the last minute, I think, is one of the greatest things they've ever done
on that song.
On that song, but the rest of it, I end up just getting bored because really it's his insane deranged screams at the end where I wish I had time. You know what? You could just put on the final like 30 seconds and you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, lower that a little bit so I can cue it up.
Because this was like a recurring joke in my household, like this part of the song.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
All right, here it is.
Not these screams. It's the screams that end the song. We'll get there.
Yeah. This is the last 30.
I already love this stuff.
But it's your work.
Huh?
But it's your.
This.
Oh. This is so good.
This is so brutal.
It is probably.
I fucking love it.
It's probably one of the most disturbing songs we've covered in our 3-year history.
Oh, easily. And even having said that, I don't love it. I just love parts of it. I also don't care much for the. You know what? It's a thing. Like Gira's vocals on this record might be my favorite. Like period. I still like the record.
Yeah.
I just think it's weaker than the rest. And I do love "This Is Mine," the closer.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes you feel like you're getting chased by a psychopath in an old metal factory or something. It really gives you a lot of paranoia.
I love the title track. It's this. I don't know if there's actual words there, but
I'm sure there
sounds
somewhere.
like fucking screaming. And
oh man,
I think the last album Cop was brutal. This is insanity.
it is insanity, but it is still.
Heavy.
It's still because it's still super slow. I think it's even slower than everything on Cop. It's like it just kept getting slower and slower and heavier and heavier.
I mean, there's just nowhere to go after this.
And that's why it's good that they went the direction they did, because it's an interesting point. Like this was really the end of Gira's like ideas. He was like, all right, well, I'm done. I want to fucking do now.
Yeah.
But yes, actually, this is what Jarboe said right here. I didn't realize the quote was right in front of me. She says, Swans could have ended in 1984. Michael said to me that he was considering going into the visual arts again and exhibiting in galleries. We had that discussion in the autumn of 84, and he asked, if I did that, would you leave? And I told him, yes, I would. I don't want to be around a quitter.
Oh, damn.
I love her. That is the kind of lady you keep around. And good thing that she said that, because
were they ever romantically?
I believe so, like off and on or something like that. But I mean, this is like the last thing we'll get of Swans. The Swans as we know them, the fucking crazy, brutal, heavy thing. It is not the last thing we were discussing, because we have another record, a compilation coming up next with all of this early stuff. But this is the last official record of we're going to pound you into submission with screams and industrial noise. To a degree. But Alex's personal favorite, my worst and least favorite, simply because it's
that's crazy to me, but also you didn't take the coward's way out like I did. And
we're gonna fight for sure, because it's just these specific songs that don't do it for me, because really you can't really.
I think they're great. I think
because for me it's 50-50. It's like I love two songs and I'm bored with two songs. And
Give me all.
If you don't like a single Swans song on a 4-song EP that's this long, I can't make a huge argument why I don't like it, because I still do like it. It's just it's punishing. It's punishing in a way that I don't love quite as much as the others. Okay, moving on.
There we go.
Jesus Christ.
Made it on to the next song.
All right. Now, this is the compilation. This was released in 1991, but it's recorded as a bunch of recordings from 1982 to 1985. So basically the brutal era of Swan. This is it. This is a one giant package with everything on it. A lot of live tracks, a lot of stuff that we've heard, but different versions, different titles, a lot of unreleased stuff. This is Body to Body, Job to Job.
Oh boy. So a lot of. Oh yeah. Again, did it again.
Oh yeah.
So only on streaming does it do the Filth Deluxe edition fucks up the beginning of this track and then the opener to the EP. The original versions and the CDs and all that, they don't do that.
And now Mike controls everything because my phone's unreliable for I don't know what fucking reason.
It has this weird technomancy going on with it. I just refuse to play music.
But only here at yours.
Only here.
But yeah, this is a great song. In some ways, I feel like a continuation of the things we heard on Pop and Young God.
Oh yeah, this is one of the best songs easily. I wish I knew more. Wish I knew more about when it was released or who was on it. Oh, and I love the way the drums sound here too. They sound better than the records. They sound more like
drums that are like breathing.
Yeah, it's like the drums finally have a voice here.
I almost wonder if recording with all that bullshit, it's like the levels.
Maybe it could have just been mixed badly, but the priorities weren't set straight. I don't believe. I have so much history with this song and this record. Mostly the record, but this song too.
Also, I don't know how I skipped this Mark Prindle quote.
Oh yeah,
I was talking about Neurosis earlier and the songs.
Oh, he's a big Neurosis fan too.
Yes.
Oh shit. So it does deviate in a way, but mostly it's just that.
Yes.
Oh boy.
And then I'm giving this worst least favorite.
Personal favorite. You're out of your fucking mind. This is almost best. This is one of the greatest compilations I've owned or heard ever.
Look, Mike, for someone who loves the flow of records.
Exactly. How can you deny the first half of this fucking out? Dude, the first half.
I guess the first half I don't have a problem. There are some great things on here.
The reason this was so close to being best. The reason it's not best is because the final 3 songs are 20 minutes of Jesus Christ, let it end. 20, like if this was a 40-minute compilation, best, easy.
There's that, there's the live tracks, and it just doesn't feel cohesive.
You're out of your fucking mind. This is one of the most cohesive compilations I've ever heard for this type of blending rehearsals and live stuff. I don't think it's been done better, specifically because of the kind of band Swans is, where you're not exactly looking for good production. So stuff like specifically like the loops. There's a few different loop tracks where it would just register as nonsense or like filler for anywhere else.
Yeah.
They're like a minute long of this creepy sound that just separates these big tracks. Mm-hmm. And again, it's like pulled from like a live performance or something, but it feels organic. This thing has some of their absolute best songs. It has versions of songs that were already released that I think are way better than the studio versions, like way better. So
I don't know if I agree. I think that's the other one. Like, I don't know if I heard any version on here where I thought it was.
Oh, I got you, baby. I got you. So the first 7 or 8 tracks is, I think, like some of the absolute, like almost like if you're even a little bit curious about this band, listen to the first 8 tracks of this compilation. You'll know immediately because it has everything. So obviously, I'll Cry For You, which you were hearing right now, is the sludgy kind of cop style stuff. Red Sheet is a live track taken from, it was a full live performance at where I forget, it's on the Filth Deluxe. They had the full performance at the end of Filth on the deluxe edition, but it's just taken from that performance. It is the no wavy, herky jerky, really rhythmic, faster kind of crazy stuff, except the drums. Even though it's a shitty live performance, the drums, like I said before, when we were talking about Filth, how the drums are the riff. Whatever the drums are doing are the riff. They sound incredible on that track. They're giant and boomy, and it's super tribal and musical. It's fucking great, and it's also like a super short song too. And then here we go, baby. Your Game is just a superior version of Your Property. It's just Your Property, but with one of the most insane, screamed, brutal intros with Gio just screaming, and then I was complaining on Cop about how flimsy the drums sound.
Yeah.
The drums on that track are giant, fat, echoey, really Albini-esque. They sound live. And the only difference between that version and the original, aside from all that, is there's no vocals. It's just these creepy like dialogue samples.
I kind of get how, like, because I was listening to it, knowing it's a compilation, and I like Your Game. I think it's great. But, like, I get why this version doesn't fit in with the record.
It definitely feels like a different song.
It's the vibe's totally different.
It's the same exact song, except the vibe is somehow different. But one thing I really hated about Your Property, the original, is, so I keep saying the drums, but specifically the hi-hats on that song. So I would ask you to, I could just put it on, but it's just too far into the song because the intro is so crazy and long.
You don't got timestamps, you're fucked.
Exactly. But you know what? I'm going to find it anyway, because the thing I didn't like about the original was it just felt like a regular drum beat. Whereas, again, the thing I keep saying over and over again about why I love these songs is the drums are the riff. Your Game, this version of it, turns it into a riff because of how prominent those hi-hats are. And I will put it on as I will find it. I'm just going to kind of ease it in.
Skim across.
I do love this intro, though. It's just fucking ridiculous. Also, these lyrics that he's screaming right now, we're going to hear them again in a later album. Here. God damn, the drums never sounded better in any of this whole era than on some of these tracks here. That simple hi-hat, that little hi-hat, just opens it up. Where it was buried on the original, just buried. It was this tiny little bitch hi-hat. I'm making such a big deal over this tiny little thing, but it fucking, I feel it,
It's a different vibe.
It is. Go ahead.
You keep bringing up horror music.
Say it.
Seal It Over. That's like slasher noise guitars. I don't know what they're doing on it.
I don't think they even know if they're guitars. I don't know what they are.
Might not be. But yeah, that sounds like slasher music.
Seal It Over was, I think it's possibly their best song from this entire era. It was like my favorite song growing up. That song kind of changed my life a little bit in a very dark way. Truly horrific, truly terrifying. It's this, again, I don't know what it just sounds like scary metal. And I don't mean the genre. It sounds like a scary piece of sheet metal coming at you.
Like high pitched, like like psycho.
Except it's not instruments doing it. It's just weird. Yeah. I can't even explain it. It's just it's true horror music in a nutshell.
It's something you need to experience.
It's perfect. It is a perfect fucking song. I love it. I love that song so much. And then after that, you get Whore, which is a live version of Butcher. Whore. I like this version better than the original because of the production. Even though these are live versions, they have more punch and more kick than the original.
The first half of this album's live songs are good.
Very good.
It gets a little rough for me.
There are rough moments. I will admit that.
We'll hang for that.
I like We'll Hang for that. I don't agree. I don't like Only I Can Hear, Only I Can Touch. I think that one's pretty fucking. That one should have been cut. But I like We'll Hang for that because it sounds like Dick. It sounds like almost like a rehearsal demo tape. But because it's such a different song than Whore and everything that came before it, it's this fast, really. I don't know. It's like, like I said at the very beginning, the bad quality in these songs isn't turning me off because it feels as claustrophobic and scary as the band is. So
I don't care how much noise I'm listening to. I want something.
It's all vibe for me. It's all the vibe.
That sounds good.
I don't know. It's like I'm a total hypocrite because I was complaining about like the drum sound on Cop, but it's because I felt like those drums were taking away the heaviness of what the songs felt like they were supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Whereas a song like We'll Hang for That is just this. It's like, how long is it? It's like a minute and a half. It's like super short. Mm-hmm. And it's just weird little fast, creepy, scary thing that sounds like it was recorded in the basement. And it's over immediately. So it just feels like a part of the whole, I don't know. It feels like a cohesive thing to me. I will give you that Half-Life and Cop are vastly inferior to the studio versions.
I wrote that as well.
And you know why?
Why's that?
If I had to guess personally, on these versions, guitar is cranked, bass is buried, and those are bass songs.
I was just so lost in the sauce here on some of the repeats. I was like, some of these I can't tell you why I don't like them, but they're this inferior.
I have heard this album more than any other early Swans album. It might have heard this more than any other Swans album. Like, this is my favorite growing up.
For me, highlight in the back half or second disc, it's a double disc, right?
I think it's one disc. It's just really long.
I'll just say in the back half then. Mother, My Body Disgusts Me.
Mother, My Body Disgusts Me is also a song that's going to come back later on.
Yeah.
But this version is pretty disturbing. It is possibly the ugliest song ever written.
Move that song in the front half of the album.
It is fucked up. It is a fucked up song with one of the most addicting, catchy drum beats ever. Mm-hmm. Again, like the drums are the riff, even though that song has a lot going on.
Yeah. That's definitely one of the standouts here. I mean, if you're a Swans fan, it's like a must listen, but
because of like some of the stuff that you can't get anywhere else, it definitely is a must listen. But it's just such a perfect, well-rounded representation of this whole era. I mean, maybe not the whole era, but from 82 to 85, where there were this really, really barbaric band. It has all of it in there, and not all of it works. I mean, some of the quality stuff does get pretty bad, and it's too long, and it ends with like, so I was saying.
Get Out's probably the worst sounding thing on this entire.
It actually, that one just sounds bad. I can't even chalk it up to like this weird vibey thing, like with some of the other tracks. It just sounds like shit. But I was saying with like Cop and Half-Life, where the guitar is way louder than the bass, you can actually hear what Norman's playing now. And Cop is a very different song if you're listening to the guitar over the bass. Because the original, when it's this big, heavy, doomy, sludgy bass thing, where it's just this really grimy kind of progression. The guitar lines are playing this really like haunting, kind of creepy thing going. It's like a different thing. It doesn't feel like a heavy, angry song anymore. It feels like this weird, ugly, strange, like unsettling song. It's a different song basically, and I don't like it as much. So basically, that's what I'm trying to say. It's a different song. It feels like a different song. It's just worse.
Yes, I understand why it was put on this and not the album.
Yeah. Plus, it's live too. But last thing is it closes with a live version of Thug, which is 9 minutes. And it is, boy, oh boy, exhausting.
Yes.
It is exhausting. I mean, the original Thug is pretty brutal and exhausting, but this version is worse.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
No. Having said that, this is my favorite Swans record, maybe ever. That's not true. That's not true. But it's up there with my top 5, just because of like the first half is just unmatched.
You know what I'm learning with Swans? It's so crazy and fucking nuts. There are no right picks.
There really aren't. So there's a quote from Mark Prendel, our boy, which we haven't talked about in a while, but he has he reviewed the whole discography up until the last thing he reviewed before he retired was My Father, Rope in the Sky. I forgot the full name because it's long. 2010, the reunion album. But he reviewed everything before that. He gave this one a 10 out of 10. He only gave 110 per band. Mm-hmm. And after that, the highest you can get is a 9. He gave this one a 10, and the quote, I mean, it's pretty perfect because all of his reviews for this band are pretty funny because it's just like, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I can't do this. What's happening? Mm-hmm. But he says there was no light on this recording, and it is a long double album recording. Goes back and forth between studio and live pieces recorded between 81 and 85, with each track more punishing and cruel than the last. This is the sound of ultimate despair. Nobody I've heard has recreated it this convincingly, not even Neurosis. This is the one. For God's sake, don't buy this album. It is perfect Swans. And
obviously I disagree.
I don't disagree. Yeah. I don't disagree just because of you get everything. You get everything, and then you get Seal It Over, which is a fucking perfect song.
It's a good ass song, but it's just things I've heard before. Bad life.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
This is fucking.
It's too long. It's too fucking long.
For this era of this era of Swans, it's too long.
Like, this is the one I would most want to recommend to people curious, but again, like, it's just too long. Like, just too fucking long.
I think I'd probably, even though I have different picks, I'd probably just recommend Filth.
So would I. Yeah. I mean,
it's just,
I'm sticking to it, dude. The first 8 tracks, just listen to the first 8 tracks of this one. It's perfect.
That's fine.
It's shorter too. It's short. You can handle it. I'm sure you can handle it. Anyway, my personal favorite, Alex's worst.
Least favorite.
Worst and least favorite. But we got a couple more.
Two more.
We have we're a whole new band now, in a way. We still got Norman there, we got Jarboe there, and we got Michael there, but it's a very different thing. So now I forgot to. Damn it. I don't know how to do this.
It's hard being in control of everything.
I forgot that yeah. Anyway, we're ready. We're ready. Okay, this is 19. Well, we're also gonna be talking about the Time Is Money Bastard EP, which is I think it came out first, right? Did it come out first? I think it did. Yeah, Time Is Money Bastard came out in January of 1986.
Yeah.
But it's also tacked on at the end of this next album. So we'll talk about them both. And both of these came out in 1986. This is Greed.
Well,
nothing before this could prepare you for this song.
Nothing. This is a little different. I quite love this song. I've loved this for
one of the greatest Swan songs.
Yeah.
Well,
it wouldn't be their last.
No,
so.
I know that. This sounds funny. So,
I know.
Yeah,
this is showing off that bass range.
Call this demonic cowboy music.
Yeah. Especially with that Morricone guitar.
Yeah, and the piano. Yeah, it's just fucking perfect.
This is like one of my favorite songs ever as a kid.
That's not right. Even though as an adult I'm saying it's a perfect song. If some 12-year-old kid told me this is their favorite song ever, be like, I hope your kid's in therapy.
Oh, I wasn't. I needed it. I love this song. So this is his voice just is satisfying to me on this, just how deep it is.
Also, I didn't get into early era Swans. I got like middle, late, and I don't give a shit. This is my best.
You know what? I respect it, and I think Tom would agree with you.
Yeah,
like maybe not the cut. Well, I think he would agree with you for this era. I think this might be his best.
I can see a strong case for Filth being made But in my hearts of hearts, I love this one the most. And
I don't love it as much as I love a lot of stuff, but I still think it's a great album.
Yeah, to me, it's the most diverse side of the era.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I did it.
Interesting. So I want to, and this is a point that Tom wanted to make. He's like, listen, separate them. I know the EPs are on there, but talk about them individually.
Yeah.
Hey buddy, don't way ahead of you, dude. Way ahead of you.
Yeah.
Because I think coupling them is a huge disservice to the albums, especially in the next one.
I agree.
Huge disservice. So let's talk about Greed as it is. Or maybe Time is Money because it came out first. So the final two tracks on streaming are Time is Money Bastard and then Sealed in Skin. That was part of the EP that came out in January of 86. Now, that is a huge departure. Time is Money because they're full industrial. It's full industrial.
Yes.
It is. I'll give you guys a fucking little taste, actually, because I can't explain how much I wasn't expecting a song like this.
This stuff is like
Good. I mean, Jesus Christ. It's a machine gun, essentially. There we go. And this song does fucking rule.
yes.
So, more happens. Vocals go. Oh, the vocals are pretty badass too.
The way they come in, where they're
Yeah. But yeah, two totally different animals.
oh, completely.
Yeah.
So that it's a good fucking EP. It's it shows their progression into like this really brutal industrial gothiness. Even though when you say things like that, people think of The Cure, and it's not that.
Also,
It's not quite that.
also, for the sake of clarity, the EP starts on Money, or no, it starts on Time.
Time is Money, yeah. So
Okay.
it's just two tracks.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But they're long
I just-
songs.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's just those two. I mean,
Yeah.
and there's not much to say because I mean it's a very heavy industrial type of thing. And then Sealed in Skin is more scary pianos.
Mm-hmm.
I think that song would have fit in pretty well on Greed if they decided to put it there. But
I mean, I do think they should be talked about separately, but I do also, I feel like we're just going to review this in reverse, that like Money is Flesh is a good segue.
it is. Money is Flesh is the closer for Greed.
Yes.
And boo, boo. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love that
Dude,
song.
that song is like if Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer had a cousin,
A very,
and
very.
that cousin was strung out on heroin.
If that cousin looked like the guy from the first season of True Detective, dude, I fucking love that song so
I
much.
don't know why I thought about Sledgehammer during that song, but that's where my brain went.
I get it. It has that because the way it's produced, the drums are
It is
super
like-
slick,
80s, yeah.
very big in 80s, but it's also interesting hearing that kind of production with songs that aren't even remotely close to sounding like that, because some of these songs are truly fucked up. And the reason why I couldn't give this any best, and I don't think it's their best, in my opinion, is because simply of the two songs, Anything for You and Nobody, coming back to back at the beginning of the album. I think those are the two weakest songs in the album, and they're right up front.
So Fool is just something totally different.
Totally different.
Anything for You, we're kind of back to business as usual.
Atonal pounding. Yeah.
But I thought Nobody, they did enough to make it different, like a good change of pace.
Well, this is the first time we get Jarboe in a song.
Yes.
She's finally on music now. We can finally hear her. And I mean, her contributions to this album, I think, are really good because it's almost like they're trying to not let her in the band.
I know. It's like usually some bands like, oh, we have a lady in the band and they need to show her off. And
Not these guys.
Not these guys.
They're like, you can do one backup line and that's it.
Yes.
And then she does it and it sounds fucking creepy and awesome.
Speaking of creepy and awesome, Stupid Child.
Weird song, dude.
Yes. I was like, this is like creepy in ways you can't do with brutal guitar.
Yeah, because it's for one, the rhythm is really odd. It's like it seems off intentionally off. It's a very strange rhythm. But the pounding drums and these really creepy, spacey vocals, and then this spidery death pianos, like it's a crawly, weird, freaky. You know what? There's no way to describe it accurately without just playing it. It's a fucking weird song. This is Stupid Child.
You don't get stuff like this on the brutal stuff.
This is right out of a horror soundtrack. Like a climax of a horror soundtrack. So that's like the main hook, so to speak.
It's a fucking crazy song. I think it's pretty cool. I didn't like it on first listen. I mean, I've heard all these albums. This was a part of Cop and Young God when I first bought it. It was like a double disc.
Yeah.
So I heard all these too, Greed and Holy Money. But the problem with that CD was, for some reason, these two albums, they just mixed up all the songs.
Oh no.
Like Cop and Young God were Cop and then Young God.
Yeah.
And this one, they just fucking threw them into, I was like, oh, that, I didn't realize that until years later. I was like, oh, that sucks.
You don't mess with the Picasso.
You don't exactly. So I didn't hear these as the albums like the way they were intended until like I was in college or something. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying, Stupid Child, it's fucking so ugly. It ended up winning me over, even though I thought it was I thought it disrupted the pacing a little bit. It won me over. And then the rest of everything else is just fucking great.
The title track is like, again, I love it. It's just like the most cinematic thing they've done at this point.
You know what it is?
What's that?
It's Mother My Body Disgusts Me.
Is it?
Same song.
Holy shit.
Same song.
I didn't notice
It's
that.
the exact same song, except the difference, guitar lines on top of it. All of a sudden, they turn into this ugly, creepy, weird song into this scary, dark, fucked up song.
Both versions fucking amazing.
I do much prefer this version.
I mean, if I had to pick, this is better.
Far better. But the main bass lines of Mother My Body Disgusts Me, they pop in every now and then. You could still hear them underneath. Like, it's still the same song, but the main attraction is the new guitar line, which really opens things up, and Jarboe's vocals are fucking perfect here. They're terrifying. It's a great goddamn song.
It's top tier.
You know what else top tier? Heaven. Top tier. Dude. It's just so fucked. It's just so fucked up.
I feel like we almost turned into the valets from that Key and Peele
Dude,
sketch.
you're right. I was like, why does this feel familiar? It's
Are
right.
they squared? Are they squared?
Squared.
Valley Kills? Making movies, and they meet in the middle.
We're just gonna fucking start doing cartwheels.
And that's why the best movie ever is Kiss, Bang, Bang. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna start doing cartwheels all over and shooting lightning out of our fingertips. That's a good show.
They got the medieval toboggans?
Heaven is sorrowful and scary, but I mean, I'm using the same fucking adjectives to describe all these songs because they are that. They all are the same fucking song, but they're different. But they are different, and they make you feel
Just
different
like
ways.
every song. It's all the same song, but they're different.
That's the end of the episode, dude. Like, that's the only way we could possibly describe this band. They're all the same fucking song.
That's the summary.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's the opening clip for sure. And then we already talked about the closer, Money is Flesh, which fucking rules. It has this that recurring sample. Love that recurring sample.
Fucking get
Whatever the fuck it is.
sledgehammered all over the place.
God damn. It's a great album. I thought it was rough at first when I first my first listen, but no, it's pretty fucking strong. But
Uno Mas
for Alex is best. We have one left. And I'm just going to say out of the gate, I do prefer this next one over this one.
Whoa, wait, what?
Well, here's the thing. Both albums were recorded at the same fucking time by the same people and released the same year. So people often lump them together to have similar cover art, similar
No, they're different.
themes, but they are different. They're the same, but they're different.
Mm-hmm.
They were both recorded by Jorge Esteban, who says, it's very interesting. He says, when Swans first came to the studio, I set everything up as I would for any rock band, but the moment they started playing, I knew they were not a regular rock band. I started paying attention to the lyrics. I would ask Michael what it was about. Michael was a very enigmatic person, very charming, and I liked speaking with him. He was a storyteller. He would tell me Told me about how when he was young, he went to Europe to travel around.
Travel around.
Yep, that's what he did. He traveled around Europe and made me start paying attention to the lyrics, which I usually never did. I just thought they had to sound good. He was talking about a subculture as much as he was talking about these political universal things. He was looking at a darker part of someone, the Mr. Hyde of consciousness. It's just kind of a nice little thing, which is an interesting. It goes to show how nice Gira was when he took away the things he sung about and the way he treated his bandmates.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I saw them, he was at his merch booth and he was like meeting everybody there, and he seemed like the sweetest guy. I'm glad he still has some humanity.
I see he had a meeting with your favorite musician of all time.
So the reason why I brought this up for Greed and then Holy Money, we're going to talk about in a second, is because of the production, and that's because of a Mr. John Cale,
the greatest. John
Cale of the Velvet Underground, who I find to be one of the most overrated bands ever. It's an unpopular opinion. I don't care. I don't like them. I don't have to like every band that you like, okay? Live with differences in people. It's okay.
I'm here, and I think John Cale's fascinating.
John Cale is a fascinating guy, and he has a very interesting approach to making records, too. I don't discredit that. I just hate the music. But they met with him because it was he was a potential candidate for producer.
Of course he would, yeah.
So Gira says, we were about to record Greed and Holy Money, and a woman I knew set up a meeting for him to possibly produce Swans. We met at a bar, and I remember being very intimidated. We couldn't even approach the idea of him producing. He was so expensive, it was crazy. But the thing I took away from our talk was that he listened to Cop and Raping a Slave. See, he refers to it as Raping a Slave.
There you go.
Which is even though it's officially called Young God. Anyway, says, and he commented on how low the voice was in the mix. He said, it's the voice that the kids want. They want to identify with the singer. That's one thing you've got to remember. From then on, the vocal has always been prominent. It's a true aphorism. I don't agree with that.
What a fucking weird thing.
I don't agree with that.
What a weird thing to take away from those albums.
I know. Very odd. Like, I love the pounding cacophony and the drums.
Look, I think what you're doing is great.
Baby, it's great. The vocals can be loud. I'm more of the Steve Albini camp of Barrett. You're hers, Ace Venturi.
Thank you.
Of course.
It's getting hot in here. I'm adjusting headphones.
Very bad. Yeah, I'm from the Steve Albini camp. Bury those vocals, all right? If you don't need them to lead the song, you can go ahead and bury them. Instruments will do just fine. Whatever, different strokes, different folks, yada, yada, yada. But here we are. Enough meandering, enough talking, enough buying a time while I find the song, because now I'm doing this and I forgot how to do this. It's okay. It's okay. We're managing. We're living. We're breathing. This is this is also the same year as they released 4 records this year. I just realized.
That is. Oh, do you think it's recorded all at once?
I believe they're all
piled.
I think they recorded all of them at once. So this is both the Screw EP and Holy Money, and we'll be talking about both of them. This came out 1986. Yeah, Holy Money. Holy Money. There we go.
Very much dark and brooding, as we've come to expect.
This one is like the best of both worlds of what we've heard on Greed.
Yeah.
With the brutal stuff, to me, at least. Fuck yeah! This is what you hear when you arrive in hell.
Yep. These angelic, pretty major key vocals with this death music behind it.
Yes. Beelzebub doesn't have shit on this.
I know.
Also, that's not a real name.
No. Nobody has that many E's and Z's. So this song is about autoerotic asphyxiation.
Of course it is.
Yep. This is one fucked up song.
But it's fucking good.
It is good. It's just morbid. It's so morbid. Like, everything about it is just like, this is evil. This is... I never say that about music because I don't believe art is evil, but
I do.
But it feels like this is not good for people to listen to. Having said that, you're right. It's fucking rad.
And I do like this album a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think this because it has some repeats.
That's the problem. That's my problem with it. It has, they re-recorded or redid a different version rather of Fool and Money is Flesh. Fool, I get.
Yes.
It's a different version. It's a different thing. Money is Flesh sounds identical. Am I missing something here?
I didn't pick up on anything, so.
So it's basically just Money is Flesh for no reason.
I was
And I
like-
like the song. I think it's a great song, but why?
Yeah, there's no reason for it. And then, I was like, if Mike doesn't notice the difference, then there's not a difference.
I was questioning my fandom. I was like, am I missing something? But it's because the differences between this version of Fool is profound. And by profound, I mean there's drums now. That's basically it. It has a really long guitar-driven intro. And then it's now Fool, but with these booming ass drums. Booming drums. It is... I like both a lot. I can't, in good conscience say one's better than the other. Maybe this one is better because it has more to it, but I still love the original. But back to the other songs. You Need Me.
First
Lead vocals. Jarboe. First lead, and it's a minute and 20 seconds. It's not exactly a song.
Yeah, I was like, this is nice. But then later on, I think like Blackmail kind of undercuts it a little bit.
Blackmail. So
I'm sure the lyrics to Blackmail are awful, but musically, it's the prettiest thing.
The final 3 tracks are the Screw EP. So
sorry. Yeah, that's right. I'm jumping around a little bit.
And I think putting that EP at the end of this record is so fucking not cool. Yeah. Because I think as the 7-song album that this is one of their best. So you get You Need Me, which on Holy Money is the only song sung lead by Jarboe. It's a solo piano performance in her. It's very pretty. It's like almost hopeful. It's a thing that we've never heard from the band ever.
Not once.
And it's very unusual. And then after that, you get this version of Fool, which is very much in the opposite direction.
Loved it the first time, love it the second time.
Indeed. And then the rest is just what we know and love from this band. It's not much different than it is very much like Greed. These songs are just like the song A Screw, Holy Money. It's my least favorite of this record. It's not bad. It's not I don't dislike it at all, but
I like it because I like Nine Inch Nails, and
it's more industrial.
They've done other industrial things, but for some reason this song I thought about Nine Inch Nails, and I'm like, how come I don't really hear Swans talked about in the same breath as Nine Inch Nails? Because I think they should. And
I think it's because it's so brief. I
Googled it, and there's some others. I should have got the quotes, but I didn't. In a 95 interview, Michael was interviewed about it, and he heard he's like, oh yeah, these Nine Inch Nails songs are exact. Well, not exact, but like our influence is very clear on that. Yeah. And he's like, and Trent never talks about us, but I think eventually.
Oh, interesting.
I think eventually he would in passing be like, yeah, Swans are great. And then it's never
hope so. He always rubbed me the wrong way. Dude. I mean it. I don't dislike his music. I don't love Nine Inch Nails, but I don't dislike any of the albums. I think there's some stuff I do like a lot, but you got to give it up, dude.
Yeah.
Always give it up.
I give
it up for fucking thrice when I like some songs. You got to fucking give it up, dude.
Especially a band like Swans, who a lot of bands owe a lot to. But yeah, I was surprised to find the answer to my question so quickly.
That's it. Yeah, that's not common at all. Holy shit.
It was on a Reddit thing from a 95. It's like the second thing on Google if you Google Swans 9 Inch Nails.
That's pretty cool. That's interesting.
For people who want to look it up, because I didn't write it down.
Right.
No, I should have.
So you can really go one or the other for this and Greed. I go this one because just simple preference, preference, but also because some of my favorite songs from Swans ever are on this, and that is without a fucking doubt. No conversation needed, buddy. Coward. Which is not only an amazing closer, but one of their best songs, and the first song to ever make me cry live.
Oh, damn.
They played it when I saw them in 2013 or something, where I got the shirt, and they were just playing stuff off of the Seer because it just came out, and they're they're 20-minute songs, and I'm like, obviously I'm there for that, and then they play Coward, and I was like, I didn't see it coming. All of a sudden, I got hit with a rush of my childhood. They sounded fucking perfect. They played like that's not a very clean song. There are some crazy sounds that you don't think are going to be recreated. They recreated all of it.
Yes,
it was a perfect version of
that era. They have quite the live band
arsenal. Yeah.
Yes,
that song is fucking so brutal and perfect.
It's great, and then it has rhythms that make me think about Terminator. So always, anytime I get like a da 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 da.
Yeah, it does have that to it. Oh man. Oh god, I'm just kidding. I'm getting all fucking in my head.
Great fucking song.
It's so good, so good. But other than that, I mean, it's fucking great. Aside, if it wasn't for the repeats, this would be like pretty.
Oh yeah,
tough contender for best.
I agree.
Man, I have so much fondness for this shit because, again, when you're hearing it as a kid with all these songs mixed up, it's not the same. It's a good fucking album. But for the Screw EP, that would be a contender for worst.
Well, because there's really not much going on.
It feels like it shouldn't even be canon. Aside from Blackmail.
Blackmail's the only... Yeah, I'm glad it's packaged like if I purchased a Screw EP, I might be a little upset.
Yeah, because it's it feels more like one of those remix singles than anything. Because the song is a Screw Holy Money, but it sounds nothing like the version on Holy Money. It's basically a different song entirely, and I don't love it. It's like industrial and funky. It's like an industrial funk. It's brutal industrial funk, and it just goes on too long. I don't love it. And then the second track on streaming, it's the second track. It's just the same song, but with less vocals, not no vocals, just less vocals.
Yeah.
And then Blackmail. So on streaming, they fucked it up. On streaming, they put a screw with no vocals, and then Blackmail. That is not it's supposed to be Blackmail in the middle. Because if you notice at the end of Blackmail, it chops off immediately. Because it's supposed to cut supposed to cut right into the beginning of the next version.
Yeah.
So Blackmail is another solo Jarboe piece with piano.
And it's so pretty.
Very pretty.
I'm sure the music or lyrics are awful because it's called fucking Blackmail. There's no way.
They're pretty vague.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty vague.
Good. That's good.
I'm sure they're bad though. But it's long. It's like 5 minutes, right? Or 4 or 5 minutes.
It's a great song. Huh?
I like it. I always loved it growing. It was one of my favorites. I have a lot of fondness for that song. No structure though. It's just one piano riff over and over again, kind of thing.
But we fucking did it.
We fucking did it. Part one.
3 hours later,
dude. Is obviously it's gonna be these are gonna be long episodes, but there's so much to say, and there's so much of Tom's notes that I didn't get to because it's just too much to talk about. But this is a band worth really diving into if you can stomach it. It's not for the faint of heart, of course, but.
And I think because their career is so crazy, maybe you don't like this stuff, but I promise part 2, part 3, totally different. There's
not even an ounce of questioning that. Like you'll hate this probably, but next episode there's gonna be a lot of stuff you're gonna like.
Because this stuff wasn't why I got into Swans. Yeah, I stayed for it. Yeah, but it wasn't what got me into that.
That's what got me into that. Yeah. It was such fucking like weird early childhood memories. Not early childhood, but like, early teens or, preteen age. Like my most vivid recollections of hearing Filth for the first time aligns up exactly with seeing Revenge of the Sith in theaters. It was like the same time.
Jesus
in
Christ.
05 or so. And also that I told the story on our Husky Doo episode a long time when I got my face busted open in a fight and I had to go to the hospital.
Husker Doo.
Husky Doo. And on the way to the hospital, when I was going through with one of the worst moments of my entire life, I was bumping body to body, job to job on headphones as my face was this band had a very close attachment to my.
Let me tell you, If me and Mike met when we were younger, might not be friends.
Oh no, definitely not.
No.
I was a troubled boy. I was very a lot of things happened, But much like Gira, you grow and you expand. You're still nice. You're still nice and pleasant company. You figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for listening and watching and hanging out with us. I hope you're a fan of Swans. Otherwise, you're fucking psycho for staying this long. And if you enjoyed this, stick around longer. Let's do a little recap.
For me, best is Greed. I like the diversity in it. I like piano stuff. I like pretty stuff on it. Worst, least favorite. Body to Body, Job to Job. Live tracks, repeats. It's long.
I get it. You're crazy.
Yeah, and then my personal favorite is the Young God EP. It's just short, sweet. You could make an argument that it's more brutal than Cop, but I think because it's shorter, it goes down easier.
Fair enough. For me, best is Filth. It is the brutal insanity of the early stuff combined with the not that common for them, the no wave stuff, the herky-jerky, rhythmic, jazzy stuff. It's a wild record. It's a great introduction to this era. And it holds up, and I can't stop listening to it. Young God, worst, least favorite. Just simply because it has the most that bores me. And it's honestly, it's exhausting. It's so fucking exhausting, and it pummels you into the ground.
This man's exhausted by a 4-song EP.
I know. And my personal favorite is Body to Body, Job to Job, the 65-minute onslaught. I just realized my favorite is your worst, your favorite is my worst. Body to Body, Job to Job, it has the most well-rounded example of their absolute craziest era. It's not perfect. It's too long. It has a lot of shit that could have been cut, but the stuff that hits is perfect. It is perfect. Oh boy. Yeah, right. Okay. We made it. Oh my God. Thank you so much for listening and watching. If you want to help us out, like the video. If you like it, subscribe. If you want to stick around longer, talk shit in the comments. If you hate us or if you like us, don't really care. It's all good either way. Leave your picks for best and worst for this era if you want to play along with us. It's always fun to find new Swans fans. Actually, we need Swans fans. We like you more. We prefer you hang out with us. We don't like lay people so much. They're unbearable. More psycho music nerds. More, please. If you want a full ass Spotify playlist on this era of Swans, you can find a link to that in the description, as well as links to all our playlists. We can find those at everyalbumever.com. Oh man, you can tell my voice is like just barely hanging on.
Done.
Patreon.com/everyalbumever. If you want to help us out, join the cause, keep us eating and all that. Get bonus episodes, early access to the Loose Ends episodes, 20% off all merch. You get to see our schedules in advance. You get to vote on polls to decide who we cover next. If you got to join the fucking Discord if you want to suggest any album released this year for us. I said this year for us to cover on our off episodes. Whenever we don't do a full discography, we'll be covering a brand new album from this year. Suggest that to us. We might get to it.
Maybe.
It's fun stuff. Do that. And if you're tier 2, you get to suggest the big ass episodes for us. They're hard and they're exhausting, but we fucking get them done. And if you want to be a part of that, join the Patreon tier 2. Hell yes, thank you. You can follow me on all social media at Panda Monkey. You can follow Alex on Instagram at
Mother Puncture.
And our history guy, Tom Osman, who is a psycho just like us. Please follow him on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Tom Osman Sounds, as well as his Substack, tomosman.substack.com, where he writes about music. In addition to his debut solo album, So Much for All in Day's Work, which you can find everywhere, as well as all the links in the description. Okay. Now, I am at a huge crossroads that I didn't think I was going to be in. I thought I had it set which song I wanted, and now it's between two. And as much, I think I've decided.
Okay.
As much as Seal It Over is a perfect song and a true representation of the horror of Swans, like it's the perfect example of the horror of Swans. Everyone, listen to Seal It Over. Please, I'm begging you. For me, listen to Seal It Over. But I have to go Coward. I have to go Coward.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening and watching. See ya.